To me, this sounds like a very toxic work environment. What is your take on that?
Toxic, but just, I mean, this is illegal behavior. You cannot put this is battery. It's criminal.
Let's talk about the filth that's starting to come out in the early days of the Diddy trial. This, of course, is P. Diddy. Surprise, surprise, he's a creep. Surprise, surprise, he's done horrible things.
The tension inside the courtroom was so thick you could almost see it. A palpable cloud hanging over the proceedings as Sean Diddy Combs sat stoically at the defense table. This wasn't just a trial. It was a spectacle. A collision of fame, power, and deeply disturbing allegations that had the world's attention. But the latest developments, breaking just hours ago, have pushed the case into an even darker and more tangled territory. What's coming to light now isn't just shocking, it's the kind of revelation that makes you question everything you thought you knew about the glitzy, untouchable world of Hollywood elite.
Because we now know who all the prosecutors will be on Diddy's trial. They're all women. They have assembled a team of female prosecutors, and that is definitely not by accident.
Reports today revealed that federal prosecutors have uncovered what they're calling a shadow network, allegedly orchestrated by Diddy from behind bars. Using the accounts of other inmates, he reportedly placed calls to key individuals connected to the case, attempting to shape narratives, quiet accusers, and manipulate the flow of information. This wasn't just a few whispered phone calls. It was, according to prosecutors, a systematic operation. The sheer brazenness of it is staggering. Even in confinement, Diddy allegedly masterminded a campaign to sow doubt and confusion. A puppet master pulling strings from a cell in the Metropolitan Detention Center.
The feds, Al Capone style, have not charged everything under the sun. They've charged 3 main charges: racketeering, trafficking, and the transport of a And I'll tell you, I don't know about the racketeering charge. It's pretty sweeping. And I'll tell you what the general
Adding to the chaos, a new witness has surfaced, someone who prosecutors describe as a potential game changer. This individual, whose identity has been kept under wraps for safety reasons, reportedly worked on Diddy's security detail for years and has now come forward with explosive accusations. According to leaked court documents, this witness claims to have first-hand knowledge of events described by Cassie Ventura and other alleged victims. They've reportedly provided detailed accounts of private gatherings, coded communications, and even specific instructions allegedly given by Diddy to his inner circle on how to handle complications, a euphemism, it seems, for anyone who dared to resist.
Jurors heard testimony from a key prosecution witness in Sean Diddy Combs' federal trial in New York City Tuesday. His ex-girlfriend and singer Cassie Ventura spoke about her 10-year relationship with Combs and the psychological, physical, and abuse she says she endured. Ventura first leveled accusations against Combs in a 2023 lawsuit, which was settled a day later. Dozens of men and women have filed suits against him since 2020.
And then there's the money trail. Financial records subpoenaed by the prosecution suggest a pattern of payouts, some as recent as last year, to individuals who had previously been connected to Diddy's orbit. These payments, categorized as consulting fees or personal gifts, are now under scrutiny as potential hush money. One particularly eye-opening transaction involved a transfer to a former employee who had been present during one of the infamous freak-off events described in testimony. The timing of the payment, just weeks after Cassie's civil lawsuit was settled in 2023, has raised eyebrows. What did this person know, and why were they paid so handsomely to remain silent? Meanwhile, the celebrity silence surrounding the trial has become deafening. Earlier today, TMZ published a leaked email chain allegedly involving a group of Hollywood A-listers. Names like Jay-Z, Naomi Campbell, and even a few unexpected figures from outside the music world. The emails, reportedly exchanged in the days following Diddy's arrest, discuss strategies for handling potential fallout. One message allegedly advises recipients to stay neutral and avoid public statements for now. The suggestion that these stars are more concerned about their own reputations than about seeking justice or supporting victims.
Centerpiece of a lot of what happened during direct testimony were freak-offs. And what the prosecution tried to show was that he forced and or coerced her into doing these freak-offs. And we've talked about this earlier this week, that at least my opinion is that in a lot of these, the prosecution just didn't close the loop. It was something she felt.
But here's where things get even murkier. A new conspiracy theory, gaining traction on social media, claims that Diddy's legal troubles are just the tip of the iceberg. According to this theory, his alleged actions were part of a broader network of abuse and exploitation within the entertainment industry, one that involved powerful figures across music, film, and even politics. The theory points to cryptic Instagram posts made by former collaborators and employees, posts that, when pieced together, seem to hint at a culture of silence and complicity. One post, in particular, featured a blurred-out image of what appears to be a party invitation with the caption, "We all knew, time to talk."
A window into Cassie's side of the story. There's a video that people may have seen. It was aired by CNN years ago. It's become a video at the heart of this case. That's security footage from the Intercontinental Hotel in 2016, where there appears to be Sean Combs assaulting Cassie Ventura. You see him.
And while the online chatter grows louder, the courtroom itself continues to deliver bombshell after bombshell. Just this morning, jurors were shown a previously unseen video clip from a 2016 hotel hallway incident. Unlike the grainy footage already circulating in the media, this new clip reportedly includes audio that captures not just the physical altercation, but also a heated exchange between Diddy and Cassie. In the recording, Diddy can allegedly be heard issuing what prosecutors describe as a direct threat, telling Cassie, "You know what happens when you don't listen." The impact of these words, combined with the already damning visuals, left the courtroom in stunned silence. Prosecutors also introduced new text messages between Diddy and his inner circle, revealing what they claim is a pattern of calculated manipulation. In one thread, dated just days before his arrest in 2024, Diddy allegedly instructed an associate to clean up the mess and make sure everyone knows what the cost of talking is. The chilling implications of these messages have only added fuel to the fire, painting a picture of a man who would stop at nothing to protect his empire.
Now you got the Diddy situation where he jumps on a private jet, they say yesterday, and is on his way to the Cape Verde Islands.
And then there's the question of victim 3, a key figure in the indictment who has so far refused to testify. Prosecutors today revealed that they've issued a subpoena to compel her to take the stand, despite her reported reluctance. While her reasons for staying silent remain unclear, speculation is rampant. Is she afraid of retaliation? Or has she too been approached by Diddy's alleged network of enforcers? The uncertainty surrounding her testimony has added yet another layer of suspense to an already volatile trial. But perhaps the most unsettling development of the day came from a forensic analysis of items seized during a raid on Diddy's Miami property. Among the more mundane finds, designer clothes, luxury watches, investigators reportedly uncovered a locked safe containing what they describe as incriminating materials. While the details remain under seal, sources close to the case suggest these materials include recordings, documents, and other evidence that could blow the case wide open. The prosecution has already hinted that they plan to introduce some of this evidence in the coming days, setting the stage for what could be the most explosive testimony yet.
When you're in a kind of industry like rap, hip hop, music industry in general, the secrets around, working for a label.
And as all of this unfolds, the world is left to wonder, how much deeper does the rabbit hole go? With every new revelation, it becomes increasingly clear that this trial is about far more than one man's alleged crimes. It's about the systems that allowed those crimes to happen, the people who turned a blind eye, and the culture of power and control that permeates every corner of the entertainment industry. The question isn't just whether Diddy will be held accountable. It's whether this trial will finally force Hollywood to confront its own dark underbelly. And if today's developments are any indication, the reckoning has only just begun. And just when you thought it couldn't get any darker, the gears of the entertainment machine grind further, revealing layers of rot that no one dared to imagine. The new evidence, the whispered conspiracies, the eerie silences. It's all converging into something that feels less like a trial and more like the unraveling of an empire. What's becoming increasingly clear is that this isn't just about Sean Diddy Combs. This is about the systems that protected him, the people who aided him, and the culture that allowed it all to fester unchecked. The courtroom has become a stage, and the audience, both inside and outside, is watching with morbid fascination as the curtain is ripped away. Today, federal prosecutors introduced what might be one of the most damning pieces of evidence yet, a series of recorded conversations between Diddy and key members of his team. These recordings, captured in the weeks leading up to his arrest, allegedly show him coordinating efforts to manage the fallout from Cassie's civil lawsuit. In one particularly chilling exchange, Diddy is heard instructing an associate to make sure everyone remembers their story. The implications are staggering. If true, these recordings don't just suggest witness tampering. They paint a picture of a man who believed he could outmaneuver the legal system, even as the walls closed in around him.
Yeah, that's trying a criminal case in the modern times. A lot of evidence is on electronic devices, cell phone, tablets, computers, things of that nature. And the devices, especially if you have like external hard drives, 90-something terabytes of data on a single device makes me think it's some type of hard drive. That takes weeks to go through just for one device on its own.
But it doesn't stop there. Court documents revealed today include detailed testimony from a former executive at one of Diddy's companies. This individual, who worked closely with him for nearly a decade, described a workplace culture that was more cult-like than corporate. Employees were allegedly required to sign non-disclosure agreements so restrictive that they essentially barred them from speaking about anything they saw, heard, or experienced while on the job. The executive went on to describe how staff members were often tasked with handling bizarre or highly personal requests, many of which they claimed were designed to maintain Diddy's control over those around him. These tasks reportedly ranged from monitoring the movements of certain individuals to delivering cryptic messages on his behalf. It's the kind of revelation that makes you wonder, how many careers, how many reputations were quietly sacrificed to keep this machine running?
Talking about her experience in that video, how she had a big movie premiere that was coming up, and what had happened was they were engaged in a freak-off that she didn't really want to be a part of, and Combs had punched her. She knew she had a black eye. She felt she had to get out of there, so she waited for a moment when he was occupied. She said he may have been on the phone, in the shower.
And then there's the financial angle. Investigators have reportedly uncovered a network of offshore accounts linked to Diddy, accounts that appear to have been used to funnel payments to individuals connected to the allegations. What's particularly striking is the sheer scale of these transactions. We're not talking about occasional payouts. This was a system, a well-oiled mechanism designed to ensure silence and loyalty. One former accountant, whose identity is being protected for their safety, testified that they were instructed to categorize everything as business expenses, no matter how questionable the payments seemed. The accountant went on to describe feeling complicit in something they didn't fully understand at the time, but now believes was part of a larger effort to keep people quiet.
They're like, I can't believe it. Like that somebody would do that to somebody that they say they love.
Yeah.
Think about it, because she was on the floor, passed out. She looked lifeless.
Meanwhile, the silence from Hollywood's elite has started to crack, just barely. A few lower-profile figures have begun to speak out, though their statements have been cautiously worded, clearly designed to protect their own interests. One former collaborator described feeling betrayed by Diddy, but stopped short of detailing why. Another issued a vague statement about the importance of accountability without directly addressing the allegations. It's a trickle, not a flood, and it raises the question, what are they all so afraid of? Are they worried about their own connections to Diddy coming under scrutiny, or is there something even bigger lurking beneath the surface? And let's talk about the freak-off gatherings that have become a central focus of this case. New details emerged today from a former event planner who claims to have been hired to coordinate several of these infamous parties. In a sworn affidavit, the planner described being given specific instructions to create an atmosphere that was discreet but indulgent. They were reportedly told to ensure that no phones or cameras were allowed inside and that all staff members signed confidentiality agreements before the events began. The planner also claimed that these gatherings were attended by a mix of celebrities, business executives, and other high-profile individuals, many of whom were allegedly aware of what was happening but chose to look the other way.
They saw evidence in the case. They immediately honed in on racketeering, and they started saying, why is this racketeering with one guy? And they're charging this one guy. They had a real problem with that. They did not have a problem with the Mann Act. They found him guilty on the Mann Act, and they hung 6 to 6 on racketeering.
What's even more disturbing is the emerging pattern of intimidation and control. Several witnesses have come forward to describe being followed, receiving anonymous threats, or finding themselves suddenly blacklisted from the industry after distancing themselves from Diddy. One former personal assistant, who worked for him for several years, described how they felt trapped in the job, unable to leave for fear of what might happen if they did. The assistant went on to allege that Diddy maintained a network of loyalists who were tasked with keeping tabs on his employees and associates, ensuring that no one stepped out of line.
It's pretty interesting because I think, we have seen many photos, videos of Sean Combs, aka Diddy, through the Associated Press, through Instagram. And so to see him kind of in person after being in jail for 3 weeks now was pretty interesting, to say the least. And I say that by being that you would expect him to feel a little defeated, a little gaunt, anything like that. But it wasn't that case. He appeared confident.
And then there's the question of the victims who haven't come forward or won't. Prosecutors hinted today that there may be additional witnesses who are too afraid to testify, despite having critical information. This revelation has cast a shadow over the trial, raising concerns about the extent to which fear and manipulation have shaped the narrative. It also underscores the stakes of this case. If Diddy is convicted, it could embolden other victims to come forward, potentially exposing an even larger web of abuse and exploitation. But if he walks free, it could send a chilling message to those still living in silence that power and money can still buy impunity. The trial has also reignited discussions about accountability in the entertainment industry more broadly. How many other powerful figures are watching this case unfold, wondering if they're next? How many enablers, gatekeepers, and collaborators are now scrambling to cover their tracks? The revelations coming out of this courtroom aren't just about one man's alleged misconduct. They're about a culture that allowed it to happen, a system that prioritized profit and protection over justice and truth. And as the trial continues, the question isn't just whether Diddy will be held accountable, it's whether the industry itself will finally face its reckoning.
And let me tell you something else. Not only should he have apologized to Cassie in that video, he should have apologized to all of the general public that he lied to.
But here's the thing, this isn't just about Hollywood. It's about the broader societal structures that allow people like Diddy to operate with impunity for so long. It's about the systems of power and privilege that shield the wealthy and influential from consequences, even as their victims are left to pick up the pieces. And it's about the role we all play in perpetuating these dynamics, whether through our silence, our complicity, or our willingness to look the other way. So where does it end? Does it end with Diddy behind bars, his empire in ruins, and his victims finally finding some semblance of justice? Or does it end with another slap on the wrist, another high-profile figure walking away unscathed, leaving the rest of us to wonder if anything will ever really change? Let us know what you think down below. Is this the moment Hollywood finally cleans house? Or are we just watching history repeat itself? Either way, this story is far from over. Stay tuned. Because if today has taught us anything, it's that the truth has a way of coming out, no matter how hard you try to bury it.